It was a bad time in the city, a really bad time. There was a serial killer about, had killed about 10 people that we were aware of. And, well, speaking of being aware of, it's something that we really didn't want to discuss with friends and family, but we knew it was out there. That included me and my dad. Dad had come to stay with me after Mom passed away. We've always had a very good relationship, so there was no problem with that. I was divorced, no children, and Dad was alone. It just seemed like the ideal thing, but I always worried about him. However, Dad was kind of the independent sort, so he would love to go out with friends, go to the senior center, and just basically have a good time. He was into sports, he was into bingo, an active old guy. But he'd hate if I had actually told anybody that I thought he was old. Dad was in his 60s, but he was not at all old. May 3rd would go down in history as one of the worst days of my life. It was the day after it was the day after I had a horrible argument with my father. He wanted to go out. He wanted to go have fun. He wanted to play bingo. He wanted to go to a sports bar, have a couple of drinks with some friends. But unfortunately, a day or two before that, very close to our home, a prostitute had been killed by the serial killer I had told you about previously. I, of course, was completely against what he wanted to do. I told him he should stay home and watch sports on TV. Maybe invite a couple of his pals over if he wanted to do that. No, he would not hear of it. He wanted to go out. And I will regret letting him do that for the rest of my life. Now, you have to understand that this serial killer I've been telling you about was non-discriminating. He would go after prostitutes, he would go after businessmen, he would go after young mothers, and yes, he would go after the old. And I didn't want Dad out on the street being subjected to anything that this horrid criminal would do to him. Well, as you can imagine, this did not work out well. I ended up having to go to work that evening. I work as a nurse at a local hospital, so I seen some of the victims that had come in. And Dad, I left him alone, hoping and praying he would do as I asked. He didn't. He went out. The following morning, I came home, and he wasn't there. He never made it home that night. You can only imagine what I was going through. I threw my purse down on the sofa and looked around, really kind of unsure of what to do. But then I heard my doorbell. I looked through the peek hole, and there were 2 police officers standing there. My heart sank. I knew what they were there for. Slowly, I opened the door and looked at them. With my eyes filled with tears, I looked at them and asked, "Is my father gone?" The 2 police officers looked at one another, then at me, and said, "No, ma'am, we need you to come down to the police department. I'm sorry to say that your father was caught murdering a hobo last night in the outskirts of town. We think we found our serial killer." In the end, Dad confessed to everything, all 10 murders, and then some. He said he had started shortly after my mother passed away. He said there was just something in his head that told him he needed to do it. And he did. So, Dad is locked away now. He did not get the death penalty, but he did get the rest of his life in prison, which is the least he deserved. So here I am, alone, wondering how did I not see it?